Hi, I'm going to tell you a little bit about oracy to sort of establish the concept in what I hope will be a clear and useful way. Oracy just means really the effective use of spoken language skills to get things done, just as literacy means the effective use of written language skills. It was a word invented back in the 60s by Andrew Wilkinson, a professor at the University of Birmingham, because he thought that spoken language skills didn't get enough attention in education in the way that written language skills did. So he invented a word that gave it a bit more status, he thought. And eventually that seems to have been having some effect. It's taken quite a while. But now I think there is a strong recognition that spoken language skills are important, especially in educational settings, because the development of spoken language skills is very closely related to the development of young people's cognitive skills. But also, it's the case that we know that being able to communicate well in spoken language is something that doesn't just come naturally to everyone. And it's not as though everyone should just assume they're either good or bad at it. It's something that we can learn to become better at. And everyone should have the benefit of oracy education. It's also useful to think of oracy having three aspects, I think. One of them is learning through talk, which is that it's through spoken language that we gain a lot of our knowledge and understanding. This is obvious in classrooms where spoken language is what makes them come alive. And certainly a teacher's oracy skills can be very important in helping them perform their professional role and helping their students learn. And we know a lot more about what active part students should take in spoken language, using spoken language in the classroom to make their own education as effective as possible. A second aspect of oracy is learning how to talk. That is perhaps the most obvious one. That is developing the skills to use spoken language to make things happen in any kind of situation. This can include public speaking, being able to hold an audience, being able to feel confident in speaking to a room of people about something that you've been asked to address them about. But it also means knowing how to work well in teams and meetings, which is something that not everyone naturally is able to do again. And certainly it's something that can make a big difference to how effectively we can work together to solve problems. And it also can make a difference to how well young people in schools and other educational places can use spoken language to work collaboratively together. So learning how to talk is something that we know is important, and we also know how teachers can help their students develop the skills to do that. And it's worth mentioning that that includes developing listening skills. We can all become better listeners if we focus our attention on trying to do so, and probably have some help in developing that aspect of oracy as well. And the third aspect is learning about talk. Unless we understand how spoken language works, how it's different from written language, and why it's so important to people's identities, their lives in communities, their working practices, their education, it's probably one of the reasons why spoken language hasn't been taken as being as important as we know it is, because people really don't have a good understanding of how it works. It's rather slippery stuff, talk, isn't it? It's here and gone. And unless you record it and analyze it carefully, it can be difficult to see how it works and what its structure and form is. We also know from our own lives that there are lots of different ways of using spoken language. People may use different dialects or varieties of a language. They may sometimes encounter prejudice or the lack of understanding about their own variety of language. And that is something that, again, people need to understand and be able to be empowered to resist if necessary. And to understand that, yes, there are different ways of using language, different kinds of language are used in different communities, but that these are not necessarily better or worse ways of using language. They are simply different and reflect the history of social groups, of ethnic groups, and of different sections of communities and populations. So learning about spoken language is something that I think is equally important. So there we have it, really. There are three aspects of oracy. There is learning through talk, there is learning how to talk, and there's learning about talk. I hope that makes sense.